Welcome along to episode 156, which is another special where we find ourselves on a journey through time in various ways for Black History Month. We'll cover a lot during the show, but no offence should be taken during the games or the sections. As always, we try to cover the topic in every special about holidays, events, etc., but we will do our best to not repeat ourselves, but if we have, please do forgive us. Admin Nicole has once again sifted through things to bring us facts throughout the episode. This episode has not been recorded live, unfortunately, so there is no audience, and unfortunately as well, there is no audience groan. As I already said, not everything may fit in for the show, so my groans might be different, and other sections may be different as well. Your games this week are Gimme Da Question, Don't Quote Me on That, Talking Nonsense, and Admin Nicole's Anagram Anxiety. And I must give another apology, because once again, I forgot to upload the picture to every other website, Facebook, Discord, etc., and left it just on Podbean. So if you've played the weekly game from last week, and tried to look, oh, it's not on the Facebook group or anything, that's my fault. Sorry, Groaners. But now, for the show, is my groans. Sassy kids. I just love sitting there observing people, and then suddenly you see a gobby kid trying to look hard in front of their friends. You then get a security guard into the equation, and hard boy becomes soft boiled. Why not just be respectful like a good lad instead of looking like a lemon mixed with a melon? Getting ID'd for an energy drink. So even though I'm in my 40s, I am, when I shave, I'll look about 15 years of age. For some reason, I can buy and drink alcohol in town, but there are some shops who do a double take and even ask the question, "You got ID?" before I even buy an energy drink. If you honestly believe I'm a teenager, and we're talking under the age of 18 here, then one, you need an eye test, because I most certainly am not one. Plus, why would I come into a shop during school hours in B, not a school uniform, you toothless buffoon? Ignorance. This is going to be short, but ignorance is a peeve of mine because people use it as an excuse, especially to be really crap towards each other. Slamming someone down with racist comments. Oh, I didn't mean to. Yes, you did, you ignorant fool. Get educated and don't live your life in hate, like the racist fools you associate with. I get there is power and sometimes security in gangs, but sometimes running with the wrong crowd can be just as bad. And with that, that is my groans that have flown the nest for another week, and they will return next week. I believe I said earlier in the show there is no audience groan this week, which is unfortunate. Please do send your audience groans in. This is a show not just about me and Admin Nicole, it's about you groaners. We need your input. Give us your groans. The Groan Zone pod@gmail.com. Send them in. Now here we have Admin Nicole up for our first fact of the episode. The names of 3 enslaved women who lived and worked in different plantations near Montgomery, Alabama. That's Anasha, Betsy, and Lucy in the 1940s. Sorry, groaners, in the 1840s. All 3 women developed a painful medical condition after childbirth that caused them to lose control of their bladders and bowels. No cure, and they were simply told to live with it forever. Be glad things have changed, groaners. This is not a thing we have to deal with in the first world countries now. Back then, this type of stuff was a serious problem. Moving on from that though, groaners, there'll be more facts later on in the episode, She's given us a list of them. I'll try and get as many jammed into this episode as I possibly can. Now, we're going to move on to games, with the first one being Talking Nonsense. You all know this one, Groaners. I speak gibberish to you, which is just English in reverse, and then you got to try and make sense of what the hell I'm saying. Round 1. This TV show about slavery, I believe it was in the 80s and 90s, shares its name with what anchors trees into the ground. Your nonsense is round 2. Sorry, Groaners. I should say, pause here, have a little think, answer, then unpause. And now it's round number 2. This 1985 Steven Spielberg movie was set in the 1900s, rural South America, and starred Oprah Winfrey, Whoopi Goldberg, and Danny Glover. Your nonsense is... Pause here, Groaners. Have a little think, answer, then unpause. And moving on, we go to round number 3. Where were slaves sold to for many things, including slavery, servitude, which could be classed as the same thing, but they were more like maids and butlers. And also, where did a lot of them end up to go to pick cotton? Your nonsense is... Pause here, Groaners. Have a little think, answer, then unpause. The answers for Talking Nonsense will come later in the show, Groaners. Moving us along, we have another section in the form of... Oh, looky! Thurgood Marshall. After graduating from law school, Marshall started working on civil rights cases to fight for equality for African Americans. His most known case was Brown versus Board of Education. Part of this case involved an African American student from Kansas who wanted to go to a white school 6 blocks from her house instead of riding a bus to a black school more than a mile away. The justices would go on to agree with Thurgood about how segregation was not as equal as many had initially believed. And another one about Thurgood Marshall. In 1954, school segregation was abolished. Overall, desegregation happened slowly, but Marshall kept fighting. Then in 1967, President Lyndon B. Johnson appointed him as the first African American justice to serve in the Supreme Court. He continued to fight for civil rights, using the law to protect all the black people. And all people, I should say, not just black people. He died on January 24th, bless him, that's 2 days after my birthday, 1993. Mr. Thurgood Marshall, you, sir, very lucky for what you did. The black community was very lucky to have you, and also so was history. May you rest in peace. Now, Groaners, usually I'd have a 0 or a hero of the week for this episode, but chances are we are going to have a hero, but I'm going to throw something different out at you. We're going to have a quote of the week, and this quote comes from Maya Angelou, big in black history. You may not control the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. Now you just analyse that phrase, Groaners, and you have a think about what she means, because that right there is very meaningful. Take away from that what you will, Groaners. Moving on to the next section, we have Admin Nicole with her story for the week, which is called What Now? And of course, you know what time it is. It's Creepy Corner. The lift whirred as it took them on the long ride to the surface. Cove put his shell back on and sat happily on the cold hard floor, waiting to reach the top. Carla gave Robin a light punch to the arm, unsure whether to be mad or worried. Robin apologised for not telling her. All he ever wanted was to set her free. Her and Lily. But one of those wasn't an option anymore. Carla asked what they would do now, finally reaching the surface, the real world, questioning everything they ever knew. Robin didn't have all the answers, but one thing he knew was that for him, the mission wasn't over until Carla was safe, and now he had to extend that to Cove. After he was removed from his family, and even all those years he spent in hiding, he had grown accustomed to many things. One of those being his acceptance at never having a life of his own. He just wanted to save the two people who meant everything to him. Yet in hiding, he learned of his own sister's cruel fate, and then he lost Carla. He began to question what it really meant to be alone, and in his search he had learned that it was his choice to make. A destiny laid out for him, perhaps, and yet, to get to the end of it, he would be the one to carve out the road, to save Carla, to give her and Cove a stable life, and to set his sister free. That is what must be done. To achieve that, Robin didn't care how mad or insane he had to get. He didn't care how much of himself he had to lose to get there. Robin looked at Carla and gave her a warm smile, yet one filled with as much warmth as it was fear, and she knew that. There's a place we can go once we get up there. I heard rumours over the years of a man the scientists couldn't stand. He's one of the few people who are untouchable up there, and if the scientists hate him, then he can help us, Robin explained. Carla looked down at her legs and placed her hands over her ears, but she looked over at Cove. Robin could pass as human, sure, but Cove had his shell, and Carla had her hooves and fur and her ears. The two of them couldn't possibly pass as human. Robin tried to assure her it would all work out. They may be fake, they may have merely been created to replace and become humanity's evolution. There would be a lot of people who would undoubtedly hate them for that, yet there also had to be those who would be able to sympathise. He had to believe that all true humans would hate them for what they were made to be. The lift beeped as it finally hit the surface. The sun above burned far brighter than the one they had known all their lives, yet the warmth it gave off was eerily similar to the fake sun they knew. The grass, the trees, they were all the same. Carla was more worried about how similar it all was. It was as if everything that was real was recreated so perfectly that its own DNA had to have been copied. Somehow it made Carla even more scared of the life she grew up with, at the same time made her wish to go back to it. A simpler time when they knew none of this. Cove ran out of the lift into the wide expanse of grass and nearest row of trees and just began running around as much as he could. Robin led Carla to just sit into the cool shade of the trees and tried to catch a breath, to reassure her he would never lose her again. Then he walked over the lift and paused for a moment. He didn't want to risk getting hurt if it was avoidable, so he walked among the trees looking for a heavy branch. One just the right size, and once he found it, he began to laugh once more before plunging the branch straight into the control panel of the lift. Even if the scientists had another lift they didn't know about, this would still buy them time. They wouldn't be able to find them anytime soon. All Robin needed was a head start. Then he walked over to Cove and sat in the grass next to him before raising him in the air and looking him in the eyes. We're safe for now. There's still a long way to go though, and your mama will need all the help she can get. Will you help me look after her? It will make it easier for me to keep you both safe if I have help, Robin explained. Cove tilted his head to the side, and he tried to understand and then quickly smiled, but ran over to Carla, yelling, "Help!" as best as he could. Robin was glad in a way that Cove never saw him as a father. It would only hurt him more when he was gone after all. He'd had to keep them both safe. That's all that had to matter, even if he didn't yet know how much it hurt. As Robin checked the trees for moss to figure out his bearings, something in the shade caught his eye. Something unseemly. As he approached the dark shade around the base of the tree, he noticed something sinister, and he knew they had to move now. Around the base of the tree, mushrooms were growing. Death cap mushrooms. Lily was here. No time to hope she was long gone. They had to move. Well, that was an ominous ending there, Adam and Nicole. Well done for Creepy Corner this week. Well written once more. There'll be plenty of Creepy Corner next week. And here we have another fact coming in hot for Black History Month Groaners. The slave owners were frustrated with the inability to work or reproduce as a result, so they all sought the advice of one J. Marion Sims. Sims would make arrangements with the slave owners to lease the three women, as previously mentioned in the other fact, to him, thinking he could cure them in 6 months. These women had no consent to give. Like I said, Groaners, they were harsh times back then, and apologies if this is upsetting for anybody, but it was a different time, a completely different time to what we have now. And now, Groaners, we have another game in the form of Don't Quote Me on That. This is where I test your movie knowledge. 3 rounds of movie madness. There are going to be no facts. I will do them eventually, but I'm going to take a break because it does make the show last even longer. But, round number 1.
I like the way you die, boy.
Pause here, Groaners. Have a little think. Answer, then unpause. Round number 2.
It's good work, Frank. You don't want to drink or something? Celebrate. You got any holy water?
Pause here, Groaners. Have a little think. Answer, then unpause. And now we're going to go to the final round for Don't Quote Me on That with round number 3.
I ain't gonna tell you how to fight your war, Corporal, so don't tell me when, where, or for how long. I can be funky.
And now, Groaners, pause, have a think, answer, then unpause for that final round of Don't Quote Me on That. And the answers are coming later. Now we're going to have, for a change, because I've been a lot of zeros recently, we're going to have a hero, not just for this week, but another one for all time. And this one comes in the form of Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens' parents were Henry and Emma Alexander Owens. He was their 10th child and was named James Cleveland when he was born in Alabama on September the 12th, 1913. He was known as JC. In his early years, at the age of 9, his family moved to Cleveland, Ohio. Reportedly, his new teacher mistook JC as Jesse, and the name stuck. Hence how he got called Jesse Owens. At the 1936 Berlin Olympics, he won 3 individual gold medals and a 4th as a member of the triumphant US 4 times 100-meter relay team. Altogether, Owens and his teammates won 12 men's track and field gold medals. So they're honorary heroes too. Jesse Owens' Olympic success was unmatched until 1984 when Carl Lewis also won 4 Olympic gold medals in the Los Angeles Olympics. Carl Lewis, I believe, he's one of ours, or he could be USA. I'm not big on me athletics, Groaners, so my apologies. Since then, some Olympians have won more gold medals, but Jesse Owens' Olympic gold medals stood for more than just athletic success. During a time of segregation, as well as the rise of Nazi Germany, Jesse Owens rebuked Hitler's race theory and stood proud for equality. Well done, Jesse Owens. May you rest in peace. And now we turn to Admin Nicole for more facts. And these might be a bit distressing again, Groaners, so my apologies. Unspeakable horrors were performed on these women that I mentioned in the previous fact without consent for over 5 years, without so much as anesthetic. Every cut, every surgery, they felt every second of it. Marion Sims did this to 12 black women, but only Anasha, Betsy, and Lucy were named in his reports. By the summer of 1849, after Anasha's 30th operation, and using the all new tools and techniques developed over the last few years, she was finally healed, but at what cost? After perfecting his technique, he closed his hospital and returned the women to their enslavers. After going through all that, they got no freedom. They got turned over to their owners. Oh, what a horrible time to be alive. But just to get us out of that darkness, Groaners, we're going to turn to another game in the form of Gimme Da Question. You all know this one. I give the answer first, then you got to figure out which question is the right one to go with the answer. Round 1. Your answer is 1926. Your questions are A. What year was the precursor to Black History Month initiated? B. What year were black people first allowed to take part in sports overall? Or C. What year did the last surviving black soldier from Gettysburg die? Pause here, Groaners. Have a little think. Answer. Question, then unpause. Round 2. Your answer is February. Your questions are A. What month did Tupac Shakur get sadly gunned down? B. What was the first name of the first black conscripted World War II soldier? Or C. What month does Black History Month usually take place in the USA? Pause here, groaners. Have a little think. Answer, then unpause. Round 3. Your answer is 7,421. Your questions are A. How many United Black people marched in 1985 to Washington, D.C. in a united front against their oppression? B. How many black soldiers lost their lives in Vietnam? Or C. How many black people applied to the Navy in its early days to become a diver but got turned down due to segregation? Pause here, groaners. Have a little think. Answer. Well, question. I keep doing that. Question, then unpause. And the answers, or questions, keep doing that again, will be coming for Gimme Da Question later. And I've now also picked up another quote for the podcast. Now, I'm not a fan of his, but this one comes from Harry Styles. Comes from a few years ago. And I might edit some bits out of it because it is a bit outdated. I do things every day without fear because I am privileged. And I'm privileged every day because I am white. Being not racist is not enough. We must be anti-racist. Social change is enacted when a society mobilizes. Look inwards, educate yourself and others. I know it's Black History Month, but those are some really wise words from a celebrity, and we should all take heed of those, especially for Black History Month and against racism. I'm gonna go immediately to 2 more facts for Admin Nicole. I've chosen to skip one fact because I think it is just a bit too dark for the episode. In 2021, Michelle Browder erected a statue in Montgomery, not far from where the horrors, our 3 women in the podcast that I mentioned earlier, went through, and roughly a mile from where the statue of Jay Sims, the guy that did those horrors, stands. She created the statues of these 3 women from recycled metal objects because these women were just discarded. But no one will ever look down on them again. Sims may be known as the father of gynecology, that's modern gynecology, but by no means did he earn that name. This statue, however, allows us to honour these 3 women as the true mothers of gynecology. What they went through in their lifetimes was unspeakable and horrible and should never have happened, but at least now we have a way to honour them, to remember their story and make sure they and many others may never be forgotten, so that in time we become more able to honour those who suffered and stop celebrating the monsters who hid their truth in the darkness. It is precisely in the darkness that the horrors are hidden and where the victims lie in wait for their story to be told and for them to finally be heard. And I really do wish they hadn't gone through that. Nobody, no matter what skin colour, should have gone through that. Just what are humans capable of? What are we capable of? And sticking with Admin Nicole, we're going to go straight on to her anagram anxiety for the episode. Your anagram for this week is Four-Bone Rogues. Your clue is sparked the sit-in movement. And the answer to anagram anxiety will come next week. And speaking of game answers, groaners, here they come. So, first game first. Talking nonsense. Round 1. Your nonsense was the TV show Roots. Round 2. Your nonsense for the 1985 movie was The Colour Purple. And round 3. Your nonsense was plantations. Moving on now, we go on to Don't Quote Me on That. Round 1, great film, fantastic film. It was from the movie Django Unchained. For round 2, that movie quote was from American Gangster starring Russell Crowe and Denzel Washington, who played Frank Lucas, one of the biggest heroin dealers, and yeah, he was black and controlled most of Harlem way back in the day. And Russell Crowe played the detective Richie, who actually got him arrested and put him in prison for quite a long time. And round 3. That quote was from the movie Get On Up, which is the biopic story of James Brown, which starred the late Chadwick Boseman. May he also rest in peace. He will always be Black Panther. Rest in peace, T'Challa. And for Gimme Da Question, your correct questions were A. Sorry, went off on a tangent there, Groaners. Your correct questions are thusly. Round 1. A is the question you were looking for there. Your answer was 1926. What year was the precursor to Black History Month initiated? Round 2. Your answer was February. Your correct question was C. What month does Black History Month take place in the USA? And round 3. Your answer was 7,421. Your correct question was B. How many black soldiers lost their lives in Vietnam? And finally, the correct answer for last week's pictorial game, I was looking for Canadians. The picture was of native Canadians. Well done if you got that, Groaners, and well done if you scored points in any of the games this week. I know at some parts of this episode we did get a little bit dark there. I did try and not avoid it. I did try and soften it a little bit, even though in this day and age we shouldn't really soften history. But sometimes little ears may be listening to the podcast, and I've got to take that into account when I say things on this show. Thanks for tuning in, Groaners. We will see you next week. I believe we're not far from the birthday special. I mean, how many years have I been doing this podcast for now? Feels like forever, but I still enjoy it. Take care, Groaners. We'll see you then. Bye-bye. Well, I should be... I'll start that bit again. For some reason, I can buy... Try again. Yet there also had to be those who'd be able to be sympathized. Yet there are those... Start that again.